Hello, welcome to our fourth episode of Boundary Riders podcast. After all the hula hoop of IPL, we are going to talk about the purest form of cricket, that is Test cricket, and we are going to talk about one of the greatest modern day rivalries, that is India versus Australia, the Border Gavaskar Trophy. No one anticipated like what happened in the New Zealand series. No one expected that India would bounce back in such a manner, but India have done the unthinkable. Like they have challenged the Aussies in their own backyard, and now that India are 1-0 up, this series is going to be very exciting now. So we have our panelists. We are cricket enthusiasts. We can't call ourselves experts because there's a lot to learn still from this game, but we are enthusiasts. We have Rick Joy and we have Soikot. Unfortunately, one of our panelists, Shomodip, he's missing because he's not well today. But nonetheless, we will start our discussion today. In the agenda, what we'll have is that we'll discuss what happened in the Perth test, what were the positives and the negatives for the Indian cricket team, and how good the team looks like. And then we are going to talk about the very exciting day night test, and we would talk about how India are prepared for the test and how India would look forward to take a 2-0 lead in the series. So I would like to welcome Saikat and Rigjoy. So let's talk about the Perth test. So I will start off with Rigjoy first. So Rigjoy, in according to your opinion, like what do you think? What India did well, and what are the positives from the game of the Perth?
I will not go into deep statistics this time. I want to have this conversation in a more casual manner. Mostly, I will say the courage the Indian team took in terms of selecting its first 11. It was little unorthodox compared to the way Indian team select, and that is because mostly Rohit Sharma was not present, so they had to tune up the combination a bit, and also the application shown by our openers in the second innings, the way our team mentality changed from the Australian first innings and it carried the momentum into the second. And generally, we see that in last couple of series, India has bowled quite well. India's bowling lineup has never disappointed. It was only the batting, especially the top order, which has continuously failed for a long time. But that kind of turnaround in this Adelaide test, I do not know what happened, but it was a mentality shift. And especially, I would like to give this whole credit to Jaiswal, the way he applied himself, the way he played this inning with full maturity, responsibility in a tough pitch. I would not say it was a tough pitch, but it was more on the like if you are able to settle down on that pitch, then it becomes an easier one, which exactly they did. They showed a lot of patience, they showed a lot of intensity in their batting, and that kind of took the match away from Australia. The flawless batting by Yash Jashwal after India came back in the Australian first inning, like the way Indian bowlers bowl, that I believe, and as I said, this orthodox selection of Nitish Reddy, Harshit Rana, and Washington Sundar over our traditional Jadeja, Ashwin, and all, this kind of made Australia a little unprepared, and our bottom order were able to hold on to the batting collapse we faced in the first inning. So I would say. I say that I will not bring up statistics and technicality into the discussion, but I would say these factors made complete, and also the mindset, there must be some change in the mindset, either Gautam Gambhir's any pep talk he has done in the dressing room, or maybe how Bumrah approaches his captaincy, which is little different from Rohit. I mean, it is aggressive, same as Rohit Sharma's captaincy, but in terms of how he applies certain differences, I could see in his captaincy's approach, and maybe that was the reason for India's success. And they were successfully able to forget about what happened in the New Zealand series. It was a formidable victory. It was like a dominant victory, and that kind of was a cherry on top on that. Sorry,
Yeah,
sir.
I think I just want to speak about one of the point even which I was thinking, talking about the bold decision which they took, right? Even just after it was playing Washington Sundar. How, I mean, the trust shown to Washington Sundar in the Gautam's era, right? It is immaculate. Like he can bowl like Ashwin, he can bat like Jadeja. Remember this. The reason why probably he's fitting in the team, and over the huge experience of Jadeja and Ashwin. That is the first bold decision, and these are some of the decisions which makes or breaks the team, right? So Gautam's era, we will definitely see such decisions, right? 3-0 whitewash in our home soil, and then we might see something coming really, a great series for India probably. So these are some of the decisions which he has taken and probably will go all the way. I think one more thing I would like to highlight here is Kale as an opening batter. So what we were missing throughout the last couple of test series, right? It's an over aggressive batting approach.
Yeah.
So what happens to that over aggressive batting approach is everybody wants to score runs and everybody wants to have a healthy strike rate. What we saw on the Bangladesh tour, right? Everybody was breaking records. And the moment everybody is breaking record, no one wants to play the hold up game. And I feel that small little change, that's a forced change again. That's not a planned change. That small little change gave the stability at the top. And the moment we got a stability at the top, the entire approach towards 500 or 600 mark came in. So first is definitely one has to be a stable. Yashashvi is definitely a kind of player. We always think that he will always go hard at the top with the new ball. Then KL's approach at the top is definitely giving a lot of benefit to India. And I think what we saw with the President's 11 match, right, the practice match, KL is still opening, Rohit is not, which is a good sign. They're sticking to the successful pair what we have seen. And another aspect I would say that why we are failing consistently in our batting approach in our home soil and not in Australia is something the fast pitch, right? We are pretty much accustomed with the IPL generation with this fast and pacey and bouncy pitches. Kohli always loves. He always loves to play in Australia. He has succeeded in Australia more than any other place. We definitely thought that Kohli will definitely score runs and he will do in the further test match. Perth was the best condition for him probably with the kind of bounce and pace in the wicket. But the current generation, right? With the green pitch, small boundaries, pacey wickets, they don't love the cracks, the test in the Indian test matches conditions. So they probably would love those conditions in Australia, what we have seen. And I think our batting will click. And I can see that, I can say that it will definitely strengthen with incoming of Gill and Rahul. So I'm sorry, Rohit and Gill. So I think if everybody fits in with their order, if Rohit is able to justify his position at number six, and Gill justifies his position. Gill will probably playing his own position itself. Then I think we are going to have a dominating test series by India. So yeah, I think India is going way ahead. Probably the reason why Perth was arranged at the first test match was to, put India down and out.
Mhm.
We have hardly seen Perth as a first venue in the past, right? So it was a kind of call by Australian cricketing board that if you put them uh, and the back foot in the first test match itself, then we will be. So that definitely backfired, and that will have a lot of impact in this series.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, so the bold decisions that you're talking about, I mean, you are leaving 800 plus wickets out of your 11, right? It's 800 plus wickets, Jadeja and Ashwin combined. So that definitely is a bold decision. But interesting point here, Saikat, as you mentioned, and even Rigja you mentioned, right? So do we see KL Rahul 3.0 here? Is it going to be like we saw, right? In 2013, Rohit started opening batting, and then we see a different Rohit Sharma. I think KL Rahul still has, I mean, he still has 4 or 5 years still to offer, right? So do we see a
I
3.0 for KL
think
Rahul?
I think I'll just take you back to probably year 2008 or 2007, if I don't recall properly. There was a role Akash Chopra played with Sehwag.
This is 2003-4.
2003-4
3, 4,
probably,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we are kind of expecting the similar role from KL, but KL is a way better batter, I feel, from Akash Chopra. Akash Chopra's role was to tear out the ball, the new ball, and Sehwag used to smash the new ball. So that combination was perfect. I see that kind of role or combination is probably a good fit for the team. Yashasvi Jaiswal is kind of role fits in with the Sehwag's role. But even if he scores a 30, 40 or odd runs in 100, balls, I think that justifies KL. I don't know whether KL will 3.0 or KL was assigned for that role or not, or KL was like this before or not. But I think the role for him being with Yashasvi Jaiswal will be similar to this. Has to be similar to this. That approach have that was the first point of success, I would say, for India's in the first test match.
Right. I mean, Kale has been, and I hope he continues with his form and he does well in the rest of the series as well. And we don't, we don't touch the opening combination or entire batting combination, but it should be straightforward replacements, like whatever we see in the 11. Okay, going to Rickjoy. Rickjoy, the much anticipated Kohli 100, Test 100.
Yes.
What do you have to say about that, right? Kohli scoring, Kohli not scoring, Kohli not scoring, right? Everyone talked about Ricky Ponting. How can a player who has scored just 300s in the last 5 years be in your team, right? And then Kohli shuts down his critics again. So, what do you have to say about that?
The role openers played made his batting much more easier, because initially, if you remember, for last couple of series, Kohli had to bat much earlier in a swinging conditions or reverse swinging condition, or a pitch playing a vital role. He got out some in very easy manner, I would say. But that there were no mistakes in this innings at all. He was able to capitalize on the good opening stand. He kept the momentum going on. He wasn't either too slow when they sent Nitish down the order to speed up things. He also started to hit and reached his century. I think it is a huge confidence booster for him. He needed this. Kohli always speaks through his performance, I believe. He never gives, I mean, he never gives statements in media and at all, right? He never gives the interviews. And I mean, he rarely gives, but now he has, I mean, this approach has been good for him. He keeps his focus quite rightly on his game, which he should. And that's how we have seen. We have never doubted his approach to the game. Maybe there has been a lot of narrative going around over how much he's mentally involved in the game, because the way he expresses himself after getting dismissed. But I still believe those are not important factor when you analyze the game. You should analyze the game on his capability. He's quite sound. His timing is quite good. His technique is still quite good. He can make changes. He, I believe, after playing so long, has some weaknesses in spin department, but I think in Australia that doesn't matter. In Australia, is more on playing the bounce, playing the pace, which he does wonderfully. And this was a quite very beautiful innings to see. It was like a it was very balanced century, I will say, and it was much needed. I believe this will give him enough momentum to score 3 or 4 more centuries in this series, and hope he gets the man of the series in this one, and comes back with a roar and breaks all the records, whatever record he wants to break.
Yeah. Yes, yes. I mean, we just hope, as a cricket fan, we just hope that whatever Sachin Tendulkar did in his last phase of the career, I think same goes with Virat Kohli. If he can do the same, then that will be great for Indian cricket
Yes,
and personally for him as well.
yes,
Right?
See, I
Great, great.
feel there are two ways of looking into it, right? Virat Kohli scoring a century, everybody is expecting. As a Indian cricket fan, as a cricket fan, to be matter of fact, everybody expects that. But look at the situation when he came in. I'm not criticizing any century. I'm not criticizing any fact on or the way he played or the class he has shown. I'm just expecting a player from his class. I'm expecting from Virat Kohli to bail out India more of a time. I haven't seen him
Mm.
done that. Neither this century did, right? So I'm expecting a situation where India is, let's say, 12 for 2, and he comes in a cloudy conditions and he scores the century. I'll be the first person who will be speaking for him only on this podcast for straight 15 minutes. But I feel I don't have much to speak about it. They got a terrific start. They already got a lead. They got a handsome lead, I would say. And then playing little less, under little less pressure, that to a player with a caliber like Virat Kohli, I would say I won't rate this century high, but for his confidence, it's a great beginning of a test series, I would say, but not from the caliber he has or what he did for India. So it's a century to start off. But if it remains the only century in the series, I will be disappointed. I'll again go back to the statement somebody have made it, right? Probably the last series for Rohit or Kohli if they don't perform or
Hmm.
India fails to qualify. So from that perspective, I would still not rate this century as much as high as Virat Kohli's expectations level.
This is a situation where suppose if you play a video game in very high difficulty and then you are not able to score good or not able to play well, then you change the difficulty level to it's easier one, and then you score well, and then you again if you notch up the difficulty again, so it's kind of like that. It is a cascading effect, I would say, because he was put into tough situations before and he was not able to capitalize on it, which we expect from him, definitely being an anchor player for us for a long time, which we expect him to do. But as Saikat has mentioned, that because he scored this century, it will boost up his confidence level. And in future, if we see that he faces a tough situation, he might be able to bail us out. I believe that this century will play that role.
We all hope so. I think he continues whatever he did, like when he took over the captaincy from MS Dhoni, whatever he did for Indian cricket during that tour versus Australia, if I'm not wrong. I hope he repeats the same. Yeah, I mean, entire 10-15 minutes of our podcast, we talked about batsmen, batsmen, batsmen. Should we talk about our national treasure, right? Jasprit Bumrah. I mean, we all know what great bowler he is, right? But let's talk about the captain, Jasprit Bumrah. So, what do you feel? Like, how good was he as a captain?
I
Joy,
don't know
if you
whose
want to start.
call was it to bat first. That could have backfired a lot, but that was a great decision, I think, to start off. Even 150 was looking pretty bleak, right, after the end of first innings. But then we realized when Australia started batting and Bumrah showed his class. So that was a pretty, difficult and hard call to take, not to bat on the fourth innings on first point, and secondly to face the ball and face the music at first, and then you succeed, you go ahead in a long way. So that I don't know whether it's Bumrah's call or probably management's call. That was the first good decision which was taken by the entire management probably. See, when you're a bowler and you're a captain, right? You always tend to put yourself in the back foot, which he did not do. That is the best part. So you being a bowler, you not introduce yourself in a tricky situation, or you not over bowl. Ideally, he's your best bowler, right? If I'm the captain,
Hmm.
I'm the best bowler. I would not try to bowl over bowl as well. These are some of the situations we have seen in the past. The reason why we have seen very less fast bowling captain, unlike we have seen a lot of batters. But he did not do that. He saw himself that I was in a rhythm, I should continue, and the reason why he is in the top wicket taking list as well. Unless I think there are a couple of sessions where he under bowled a bit, but when he was pumping out hard, he bowled the most number of overs, and that is a good sign of being a captain, that you are still identifying your caliber. I mean, you are supposed to identify others' caliber as well, but you have identified your caliber as well, and you have, and that made the difference. And he was definitely the main reason of India winning this match.
Yeah, so as Shoikot has mentioned, the batting first thing, I believe there might be two factors. One is that they thought that if they were able to weather out the first couple of sessions, they would have played long. Uh, and last, second was that in any pitch, we do not know how it will be on the fifth day, right? So any captain, anyhow, conservatively will not want to bat the fourth inning, so that might be the two factors, because we do not know how the pitch will be there on fourth day or fifth day. Even though they have a history of knowing what happens to a Perth pitch and all, but in Australia, you don't want to bat the fourth innings. I believe that was the main reason. So they thought that if we weather out the first couple of sessions, then we might be able to bat long. I think Australia would have done well in the first inning. That's where Bumrah's excellence come into being. His spell was
Hmm.
I mean so unplayable. Like there is no word to explain his spell, and he, as Shaikar has mentioned, the way he becomes his best self also kind of encourages the other bowlers. So not only he is the captain of the team, but he's also the leader of his bowling lineup. So he's making sure that Siraj, Harshit, these players also bring their best. He's advising them which line and length to bowl. So these totally elevates our bowling lineup. So our contribution in terms of how Bumrah makes the whole bowling lineup richer and unplayable. That I would want to add that his role not as a bowler but as a thinking cricketer. We laud Ashwin about how, because he's a YouTuber, we know how his thought processes work. So Bumrah is, I believe, also same kind of a guy, but because he doesn't face the press and media a lot, so we do not know that side of him. But I believe he is an as much a thinking cricketer. His acumen of understanding, the game, the awareness, which line and length to bowl, what are the keys, weakness, taking on spot decisions, and also encouraging other bowlers. The way we saw Mohammad Siraj lauding Bumrah in any occasion, so we can understand that he's also the leader of the bowling pack too. So his contribution, I would make the statement that probably at the end of his career he will be the best bowler India has ever had, surpassing Kapil Dev and Anil
That's
Kumble
a big statement.
and Anil Kumble. I would say these are the two. I mean, for pace bowler, he will surpass Kapil Dev, and in future generation, we will say that Bumrah is the greatest bowler and Kapil Dev will be the second greatest bowler in Test cricket. Obviously, Kapil Dev has many other. He is a all rounder. He has a batting acumen. He is a World Cup winning captain. So Kapil Dev has all those factors. But only talking about bowling for Test cricket in fast ball category, I would say Bumrah will surpass.
Yeah, right.
I think
So I
the yeah the kind of impact, right? He may not take as much of wicket as Kapil Dev have,
Yeah.
but if we talk about the impact, he I think I would say Rohit Sharma a lucky captain to have him as an IPL. He was part of his IPL team. He was part of the World Cup winning team. I think he single-handedly took that match, right? 30 ball, 30 remaining from there.
Yep,
He took
yes.
that. I would say the kind of impact he has already done for our country, or as well as whatever the franchise he's plays for. In terms of impact, I think he's the greatest bowler ever, I would say. Talking about current generation for sure, but I would say if I have to compare with someone in Test match cricket, it has to be Dale Steyn. The kind of impact he used to have in those South African pitches. Again, South Africa is much more, I would say, bowling friendly wickets than Australia. The toughest conditions to bat, I would say, is anywhere in the world than South Africa. So probably impact like Dale Steyn in Test cricket, and he's a legend in T20 cricket. No one can be at par of him in T20 cricket as well. So yeah, talking about that decision of batting first, like Ririk J, what you mentioned. See, this is coming after the 46 debacle. So
Mhm.
taking that decision again in a same condition, almost same condition, that was probably a little worse in Bangalore. But then succeeding, otherwise, if they have failed, we would have questioned a lot the entire management. So coming from there, batting first in the same conditions, not knowing as a first match of the series was a bold decision and it went well.
Yeah, and see, 150, right? When we talk about, so that score was not that big, 150. But there we have to talk about one special innings, and we have to talk about one special debut, right? Which I hope that he has a greater impact on Indian cricket. Is about Nitish Kumar Reddy, that 41, right? That propelled India to 150. Otherwise, if India would have finished less than 100, then that would have been a much tough contest compared to what it eventually happened, right? So talking about that innings from Nitish Reddy, and not only in the first innings, in the second innings as well. I mean, he played more freely in the second innings. He did not have that much of pressure. He just had to go and smack around. But that innings, that first innings score of 41, how good was it? How good you feel was Nitish Reddy?
So I would say I'm very happy with the addition of Nitish Reddy. Also, I would on the other side, I'm a bit skeptical on addition of such players who has this sort of approach, even a batter like number 6 or number 7. So you're adding up players with a similar approach in your entire lineup. So imagine Nitish Reddy playing such innings when India was what 60 odd for 5. So imagine Nitish Reddy playing the kind of innings when India in a pretty stable position. So in a sense that we got a very good lower order batsman, I'm happy. And on the other hand, I'm little skeptical about the approach these modern day batsmen are showing, even lower down the other. Remember, he have to bat most of the time with the tailenders. So having that approach, I don't know how long he will go. But considering his bowling skill set, I think he will be given a longer run. And I hope he will be doing well in Australia. And let's see how he does in the Asian conditions whenever he gets a chance, if at all he gets a chance.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So, do you see him playing in Asian conditions? Because I don't see him actually playing, getting
Yeah,
chance.
yeah, that is something even I doubt, because the reason why I said if at all he gets a chance, right? Considering we have Jadeja and Ashwin sitting on the bench, so
Mm.
it's hard to get a chance. You always play your spin bowling all around, right?
We always have this conundrum when we tour outside, right? We play one spinner, and in India we
Mm.
play two spinners. So this is the problem we have. We have lost the great Lord Shardul Thakur for this. He has vanished away. We hope that Nitish does not, go into that route. See, statistics is a different thing, and look and feel of a player is a different thing, right? I see glimpses of Hardik Pandya in this player, the way he bats and the way he bowls. Hardik Pandya, the caliber of player he was, I mean, he still is that. It's a loss that he doesn't play Test match. Okay, maybe he also mentally thinks that his body will not be able to put into such a load. It's a loss that he is not available to play. I mean, even if he plays, he might not be able to have that much of stamina to carry on bowling and then batting. So it is a role that takes up a lot of your energy and stamina, I will say. And if Nitish uh, been a player similar to his caliber, and he's young, quite young, so maybe if he takes up as much of load like bowling, I would say at least 20 overs in Test cricket, and then coming on to bat, and then again scoring about I would say 50, 60 odd runs. It given the situation, it is a tiring experience, and I hope his body is able to endure that. If he can do that, then it is a great prospect, because when we travel outside, India always looks for such kind of player. As I mentioned, we had Shardul Thakur, and he played an immense role in 2019 along with Rishabh Pant and other. Right, I believe so. He had a similar to Washington Sundar at that time too. These kind of players add tremendous value, but it's upon their workload and how they are able to manage their fitness and everything. If they can play they can play key role. Nitish, I believe, I have seen him. He can accelerate. He can also play little slower if he wants, and his bowling is quite good. I don't think he. I mean, I will not say not extraordinary, but quite good compared to like other bowlers we have seen. So I believe he can be a good prospect, but only in our away tours. In India, we will always play two spinners, even more than two spinners. Now that Washington Sundar is there.
In India, I don't see him getting a chance just because India would play with those two spinners and knowing Ashwin and Jadeja. And even after that, I think Sundar and Akshar Patel, they are ready to replace Ashwin and Jadeja. So that's how it is going to be. But nonetheless, I mean, if he goes ahead and contributes in the away conditions, nothing like that. Right. So talking about another debutant, Harshit Rana. So Rigjoy, he's in KKR, right? So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts? Like, how good was he as a test match bowler? I mean, we all were skeptical about the fact that Harshit Rana, how did he get a chance to play, even though he does not have that amount of first class experience? But I think how he was definitely good. So what are you views on that?
Okay, so two things I want to add. One is that even though Gautam Gambhir and Ravi Shastri do not what you call, they do not agree with each other a lot. Okay, they kind of pull each other on over media, but their thought process are quite similar. They believe in picking up players who have that it factor. I believe Harshit Rana is a player who can stand up to the occasion. Maybe he has some record at local tournaments or domestic tournaments, but I have seen that whenever you have given him responsibility, either in IPL or now in this test, he has lived up to it. He's a boy who has had that, that it factor, the zing, I would say, the attitude. I mean, he's never, when he had that, that controversy in IPL, we thought that he might not never be selected in Indian team because this is his attitude. But he got selected in the Indian team, and then he was able to prove his mettle. Like, there is a controversy regarding the last series he played against South Africa or Bangladesh, I believe. So Gautam Gambhir didn't put him in the playing 11 so that he remains uncapped for KKR and all. I don't know. That's a controversy or a conspiracy, I would say. But in this particular tournament, I would say that he has that it factor, and he leveraged that. He showed that to play against Australia, not only you have to bowl good line and length, but you have to show aggression. You have to bring that, bring it to them. Okay, and he did that. He was able to do that, and he got wickets for that. I believe he was able to get under the skin of the Australians, and such kind of players with such mindset are successful in this condition. And so he didn't look like he was a debutant. He was like he was ready to go from the first ball, which I liked about him. He has that attitude. He can be a good player in the future, provided he carries on such positive and such aggressive attitude going forward.
And yeah, and he has that smile on his face always, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, great. I mean, he has everything to be a fast bowler. He is tall. He's muscular. He looks fit as well, right? So, Saikat, does he remind you of Umesh Yadav? Like same kind of a bowler, same build.
I think Umesh Yadav has the reverse swing capability. So I haven't seen that capability on with Harshit Rana. Harshit Rana is more of a skiddy kind of bowler. So Umesh Yadav, I think India's best two old ball bowlers will be Zahir Khan and Umesh Yadav, hands down. The kind of reverse swing they used to gain, I think probably the next would be way behind would be Shami, but no one else. So I haven't seen that sort of capability. But yeah, with the new ball, I would say yeah, little similar with Umesh Yadav with the skiddy. Um, he's not a bowler who will give you bounce and he won't bounce you a longer run, or he won't bowl you around 145 plus pace as well, but he will give you a skiddy conditions, and he will most of the time you might have seen in the practice matches as well, right? Either it was LBW or bowled. So those sort of conditions, as a new ball bowler, he's kind of Umesh Yadav. But if he does the same job like Umesh Yadav as an old ball bowler or a reverse swing, then I think he will be a complete bowler. But the reason why I probably think he was picked was for his for his batting capability as
Yeah,
well. He has good
correct.
records with the bat, and Gautam Gambhir always looks out for those sort of players who have more than one skill set.
Right. He has a first class century as well. So
Yeah,
maybe in the series,
you would require, yeah, you would
I
require a
just hope
lower order
he does
hand.
not have to he does not have to bat and we sail through easily in the series. But if he does get a chance, I think he would add some runs as well.
I'm seeing him score at least 150 in this series.
And that would be
So
great.
maybe some or the
I
other
just
match.
I just hope it comes in a very lighter condition. Like we already
Yep.
have a lead of 300, 400, and then he scores that 50. Great. So a lot of positives from the Perth test, and now we have to move to a different challenge. India would be moving to a different challenge of the pink ball test at Adelaide. Not very fond memories of 2020 when we were bowled out for 36 all out. But and now that we have that 1-0 advantage in the series, so I think that will boost the confidence of the Indian cricket team, and they would definitely aim to do good. I mean, they have that the way they set a 500 plus score target in the first test match in Perth. That would do a great lot of confidence to the Indian cricket team. So let's start with the review of the Adelaide test that we have at hand, the pink ball test. So let's start with now that we have talked a lot about the Indian batting. So let's talk about Australian batting as well. So Rigja, do you think that this Australian batting lineup, I mean, it looks as one of the weakest that we had seen for Australia?
Yeah, especially their middle order, Smith and Labuschagne, who has been a big factor. I think they are. I do not follow their test cricket very diligently, but I believe Labuschagne was out of form technically for almost 2 years, right? They are saying that he
Yes.
hasn't performed that well for 2 years, even though Ponting was criticizing our team. about playing selecting Kohli, but I think Labuschagne has been not in good form and he hasn't done quite well for a long time. And despite, I mean, he performed quite well, and then he had a lean phase, and that lean phase kind of goes on. I do not know what's special about him. I mean, he was a special player in the beginning, but in Test cricket at their home field, Labuschagne has been very ordinary. I expected more from him, even though he played around like 2 runs from 40 deliveries in the first test,
Yeah.
which had its own reasons why he played like that. But I still believe Labuschagne and Smith, these two players, and Smith, I would say more because Smith is an unorthodox batsman. You cannot put him or you cannot analyze him based on the technicalities of a copybook cricketer. So you have to discuss everything based on his strengths. Now his strength has become his weakness because of his age, the way he shuffles and all. That kind of exposes his leg directly in front of the middle stump and off stump. Okay, so if anyone pitches the ball right into that, and if his hand-eye coordination is not good as he was when he was a young player, he is bound to get trapped, and I think this will continue for him. So these two players have now become a liability for Australian team, especially from their batting perspective.
Yeah, yeah, and even Smith, see, not only is about the leg middle stump line that he got out to Bumrah in the first innings. Previously, Smith used to leave the outside of deliveries with a lot of confidence. Even that is lacking at the present moment, right? He got out to Siraj in the second innings, fending a ball which was just outside off stump, right? So that unsurety and the way we were also talking about Virat's game, right? That slight sort of doubt that came in Virat's game as well before this 100, of course. That same thing is going on with Smith as well. He is not, I mean, he was one of the Fab Fours along with Kane Williamson and Joe Root and Virat Kohli, but Virat Kohli and Steve Smith both have been going through a very lean patch in the last few years. Even Smith, I think he also has 2 or 3 hundreds in the last 2 3 years, I guess. Right, and as you rightly mentioned, Labuschagne has been out of form for quite a long time. I don't remember when he scored a century in the last in one of the test matches. So, yeah, that's going to be a great concern. And even I think the main problem also was in the opening as well. I think extending David Warner's career a bit, that was unnecessary. I think that transition should have happened way earlier, and they should have got hold of a very stable opener, and then again bringing Steve Smith to open. They reshuffling his position. I think he it was his decision only to open the innings. I mean that backfired as well. So that sort of has created a very unstable top and middle order for Australia. And I don't know. I mean, maybe that's how the Australians come at you, but they projected that they are going to go all out and they're going to do a 5-0. But if I see after the first test, I think Australia's batting looks more vulnerable than India's batting in Australian conditions, because I think even with the bowling, I think Bumrah definitely he has a greater skill set compared to Cummins and Stark. I don't not taking nothing away from the great bowler Cummins or Stark is, but I think he has been a better bowler in the first Test match, and adding to the worries of the Australian batting as well. I think they did not apply that much, right? In both the innings together combined, they didn't even score the 350 runs, more than 350 runs combined. So that definitely is a problem for them. And only good positive thing is that Travis Head, who is India's nemesis always, he again came back to form in the second innings. And I think Mitchell Marsh is also scoring well. So, but I think Australian batting still looks very here and there, and it looks shaky at the present, right?
I think what you talk about, right? Fragile batting. So I think we will be seeing two sides with fragile batting ability. So
Mm.
on one sudden morning, you will see somebody scoring a big century in a very healthy strike rate, right? On the other hand, one team struggles to score even 150 runs. This kind of situation, I'm seeing this happening, considering both the team is struggling to find a stable batting order as well as the stable batsmanship, I would say. So considering Rohit Sharma also coming in, it will make it a little more fragile considering he haven't batted in that position. I think I haven't seen him in Test match cricket. He has batted in that lower down the order. So this is a test for both the batting lineup, I would say. On the bowling front, Australia was pretty stronger unit, I would say, right? In pace bowling unit, definitely. This pace bowling unit is there since last 7, 8 years, probably this trio. They could not even tear apart the bowling line, the batting lineup India. Probably a fragile batting lineup, I would say, coming from 3-0 loss and then 150 odd total in the first innings. And then they could not tear up that batting lineup with that sort of bowling. I would say that is a more major concern, I would say, for Australian think tank more than the batting unit. So, and again, now Hazelwood is out. So probably Tom Boland will come in and he will probably have a go.
They are
But
also
that,
using Mish Mars as a fifth bowler, which I also believe is a handicap for them. Mitch Marsh as a batsman is extraordinary, but I don't rate him, as much as a bowler for this. He's like a stopgap bowler for them.
yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. I mean, if your best three bowlers are not giving you wickets, then you have to look out for someone like Michel Mars as a fifth, sixth bowling unit. So bowling option, sorry. So that we have to see because again, now what we have, what is the upcoming plan, right? Ping ball is more of an assistant to the pace bowling unit, much more than red ball. I would say it has an additional layer of paint which lasts long. The
Hmm.
it is given as shine to keep it, more visible in the darker conditions. So the reason why it will skid more, it will come to bat much more easier than. So I'm seeing Yashasvi Jaiswal and Virat Kohli scoring a ton again, considering the more pace in the ball and in the pitch. So even bowlers like Stark will be much more lethal as well. Bumrah, you can trust him in any conditions eventually. So that is a major difference I'm seeing. Batsmen who are on the back foot will struggle more. People like Steve Smith might struggle more with ping balls, and considering his form as well, what Rigjoy already mentioned, right? People who don't have that sort of skill set in terms of who don't trust their technique, right? If I talk about Virender Sehwag, MS Dhoni, they are more of a hand-eye coordination and trust more on their adaptability more than their skill set. So the moment they cross a certain age, right, their hand-eye coordination loses out. When Virender Sehwag used to put on his specs, right, his hand-eye coordination went off. So I think Steve Smith is also might be falling in that category who does not have much of a technique to say, but he has an unorthodox technique, and he might lose. He's probably losing out his hand-eye coordination. I'd be happy if he proves me wrong, but it will be much more tougher in a skiddy conditions, in much more pace, which the ball will have in as a ping ball. So interesting. I'm seeing Indian batting unit doing better in these conditions than the Australian batsmen.
But two things over here. So one is, if you remember the 36 all out, right? Hazelwood now not playing
Correct.
now. He was the one who took 5 wickets in the second innings in that 36 all out thing that no Indian fan would like to remember, right? So that's one thing. But the second thing is that who is replacing him? It's Scott Boland. So Scott Boland, he took 5 wickets in that the WTC final. I think he turned
Mhm.
out to be India's nemesis in that World Cup final. He dismissed Virat Kohli as well in that final, WTC final. So, uh, on one hand, I would say that Hazelwood going out would be a bad news for Australia. But again, if Boland is replacing him, then I mean it evens out a bit. Their pace bowling. Having
Yeah, and
said
I
that,
think
I think
Harshit Rana will also do well, considering his skill set, right? And I think
hmm,
I don't know whether we had this practice match in a ping ball or not.
Yes,
The way
we
it was
had
probably ping ball, right? So he took four
we
wickets,
had
right? Yeah,
yes.
he took 4 wickets
he
and two
took
of
four
them were
wickets.
bowled.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So the kind of bowler he is, he's not a pacey and swing bowler who won't bounce so much. He's a skiddy bowler who will bowl wicket to wicket because that will give you an additional pace along with your no room kind of bowling approach. So I think he will do well in this test match as well.
Yeah, correct. I think in the practice match as well, He took those 4 wickets. Out of them, two were bowled. Though it was, I would say that it was a 1 day match in a way, not exactly a 2 day match because 1 day was washed out. But I think he showed a lot of application there, and he proved to be very handy with that pink ball. And as you rightly mentioned, that pink ball has got that extra lacquer over it, which allows the ball to bounce and skid more, and then the shine is also there for a longer time. So on one way, it comes to the bat easier, but on the other way, it generates more pace. Ball travels more fast on those
Can
pitches.
even in Adelaide
So it,
pitch, and it can also swing a little bit if a bowler can try to swing the ball because of the shiny thing. It can cut
hmm,
through air, right? So it's like it can also swing.
yeah,
I mean, Umesh Yadav used to swing it a lot. If you remember a day-night test, India played against Bangladesh in Eden Garden. I think that was their first day-night test match. Umesh Yadav
Yeah.
literally
yes.
demolished Bangladesh team. They were not able to pick up where he was bowling.
No, it's a. I think Umesh Yadav. I don't know where he is, but I still consider him ahead of Siraj, especially in these conditions, right? I don't know where he is, how much fit he is, but he's a nemesis in swinging conditions, especially if you give him a ping ball, then Shami and Umesh can be lethal. India is missing out both Shami and Umesh this time around, but probably they have a much more lethal bowler in with us, which is of course Bumrah. And I'm seeing Harshit Rana as another good bowler in these conditions. Siraj is doing at his best, so he's probably getting all the condition support. He's bowling at par with Bumrah since long time now, so he already played 35 odd test matches. I think he's one of the senior most guy in the team, so I think he should take more responsibility like Bumrah. So anyway, so India consistently played, I think, Akashdeep in the previous home test matches. They're trusting Harshit Rana, probably due to batting as mentioned before. So hopefully he justifies his place.
And looking at that Prime Minister 11 versus India practice match, right? So you mentioned about Yashasvi Jaiswal. I think Yashasvi Jaiswal is a brilliant talent. I think he's going to be the next big thing in Indian cricket. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he already has, I think, 3 or 4 centuries at home, and then now he has a century in Australia as well. I closely watched that innings of Yashasvi Jaiswal in that pink ball practice match. His approach was going hard at every delivery. Do you think that that approach will be helping him? I know that it is his natural game, but do you think that that approach will help, or should he just, because that's his first pink ball test he's going to play, right? And that also in Australia. So do you think that this approach is going to help him?
I think the way he got out in the first innings, right, in the first test match. So
Hmm.
that shows the hit and miss approach. It reminds me of a modern day cricketer, Jack Fraser McGurk. Look at his
Hmm.
approach of playing a cricket, right? He tries to hit every ball. He was very successful in IPL. Just after the IPL, what happened? His form, he probably played 11 or 12 innings for Australia with 150 plus score.
Correct.
See, that is still acceptable in T20 cricket. But that sort of approach, he did got success, I would say, Jaiswal. But that sort of approach is always a high risk. You know, that too in a seaming condition in Australia in front of great fast bowlers. It's a very high risk cricket, I would say. I think management needs to sit with him. You play your natural game for sure, but you have to see the condition. You have to play mind games as well, not just hitting every ball, and that might impact a lot of things because he look at the past few series. He was the person who scored the majority of the runs for India. The moment he does not contribute, it puts an immense pressure to the lineup. That too, considering the inconsistency form which we have seen for Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. So Yashasvi Jaiswal scoring runs and not scoring runs creates a huge difference in the final score of India. So you might have seen, right, 150 and then we got around 500 odd runs when he scored a century. So his importance and his mindset is much more important than any other batsman, I would say.
I was you are right, Arvindo. I believe Jaiswal changed his approach in the second innings of the first test. Okay, he was not that aggressive. I believe he was testing out something in this particular practice match, that whether if he tries to go as much as hard as possible, because the way test fields are set up, he was testing out whether the edges can bring him runs or not. Okay, that may be
Hmm.
his approach. He was, because it's a practice match, he can take any approach he wants. I do not think he will do the same thing in a actual match. He was trying to test out whether this lacquer thing is keeping the ball hard till about 20, 30, 40 overs, right? And if he sees that going hard, if he edges out and he can beat the slips or gullies, then he's having this thought that, okay, if I go hard, I may have the confidence of beating these fielders. So I will not be having this second thought in my mind that should I go hard on certain shots or not. Maybe he was testing that out. That's why I also thought that why he was like continuously, even though he was not. If you see KL Rahul approach, it was like he took a lot of time to. I mean, I could understand what sort of mindset he was. He was getting accustomed to the ball and everything. But you see, Jaiswal was trying to check out whether if he hits way hard in the ball, and because it's not a T20 match, right? There would be no players on the boundaries or something like that. He was checking whether he can beat them on those balls he are not able to middle. Maybe that was his point of view in this particular match. He was going hard
Hmm.
on every ball basically, which he doesn't do.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it even in test match. He does go, but he's not like he doesn't do the Jake Fraser McGregor approach in test matches. I believe he judges ball, he leaves ball, but he was going hard on every ball. So I was trying to see that whether he's testing out whether he can edge them to boundaries or not.
Correct. That might be one logical reason for it, but I don't think that approach that he was testing that would do well for him in the actual match, right? Because he need to spend. I mean, because it's a new challenge for him,
Correct.
the pink ball. So now that we have our regular opener who has been the regular opener for last few years for India, Rohit Sharma, where do you see him fit in this 11? At which position? I mean, we do see a direct replacement, Devdutt Padikkal being replaced by Shubman Gill, Shubman Gill coming at 3. But do you see KL Rahul coming down the order again and Rohit Sharma again resuming? I don't think, I mean, as per my thinking, I don't think he will be opening again because that's what we saw in the practice match as well.
I think no. What I'm thinking is a fit gap approach, right? If India loses a wicket in a, let's say, first 5 over itself, I see Rohit Sharma coming in as number three, possibly, because I don't see his role and his approach of cricket in the lower down the order, right? Considering you already have Rishabh Pant there, and then alongside you see Rohit Sharma playing with his own way of cricketing shots, like he does in the Test match cricket. What do you call as approach? I don't see him fit him properly in that number 5 or 6 position. So I assume if India is in, let's say, in a condition where India loses their first wicket after, let's say, 50 odd runs, then I think he will come down the order as usual, number 5, number 6, wherever the position of Dhruv Jurel was in the previous Test match. If not, if India loses a wicket, he will be just your another opener, I would say. He will come early, number 3. And that's how I am
But
seeing this.
but do you think that they would be disturbing Gill's position? And that's one point. And second point is that we have seen Rohit's struggle against new ball, fast bowling, and then he goes bang bang from the day one, right? I mean, from the first ball, first delivery. I think that his game might be suited number 5 and number 6 when the ball is slightly old, better for batting. He can the field might be. I mean, if there is a huge score that India has already built up, they won't. I mean, he won't have that pressure as well. He can go ahead and score those runs as well. The field might be spread out a bit as well, right? So,
If you remember, there was a ODI cricket match, right, when he was injured against Bangladesh. India lost that series in Bangladesh. He batted out. He came in later after injury. He batted with the tailenders, and he almost took away the match from nowhere. So
hmm,
I think he can bat with tailenders. I
hmm,
think it will be maybe when there is a attack from both the side, it backfired India a lot. When he bats with the tailenders or lower down batters, there will be unidirectional approach of power hitting cricket. So that might give a in a better way for India's approach to lower half of the runs. So India is not getting runs from the tailenders, right? Since long we are seeing this. So probably he can bat with those tailenders and he can chime in some runs. So that is another approach of looking out. But I'm hoping that he does not comes out to bat if India loses out an early wicket, because that will disturb the entire batting lineup.
And Gill obviously would be coming at in position of Padikal, so that they won't also would like to disturb their number three. But yeah, I mean, depending on the situation, they might again. So as you mentioned, that a like for like opener kind of a thing. If they lose an early wicket, so they might send him. Do you see any other changes apart from Gill replacing Padikal and Jurel
No, I
replacing
don't see
Rohit?
any other changes. No, I think Washington Sundar will play. He did not. He justified his place.
Mm.
He got what 40 odd runs in the practice match as well, and I think he got a couple of wickets as well in the first test match whenever he was asked to bowl. So I think he'll be
Mm.
playing, and he did not do anything to lose his place. So I don't see any
Correct.
other changes apart from these two.
Yeah, and then in that practice match, Jadeja and Sundar both were being tried. So it was like just picking up one of those. They were just trying Jadeja, see if he can be a better fit, like having that experience against Australia. But I think they would definitely go with
Knowing Gambhir, I would say he sticks to his plan. I don't see him changing as per the condition. He trusts his men, he trusts his team, and I think Washington will only play. I don't see
hmm.
two spinners playing. Absolutely not. So there will be three pacers along with Nitish Reddy, but Washington Sundar is playing for sure.
So Richard, do you want to add anything? I mean, do you see any other changes in the lineup?
I want Rohit Sharma to come down the order because I believe KL Rahul played an immense role in stabilizing the top order. They were not performing well for a long time, and KL Rahul is a batsman who kind of stabilizes the inning. He slowed down everything and he kind of held that inning. So if he can be of immense value going to the next match. This thing happened same in this practice match also, that he was able to play that anchor role, and I want him to continue because Rohit Sharma and both Jaiswal are similar kind of player. They are both aggressive, and if anyone gets dismissed, I think that opening partnership kind of gets dismantled, and then the whole batting order kind of collapse onto it. So that has been India's problem. So since India found a solution, I think Rohit Sharma should stick to coming down the order. There might be other side effects to that. I agree with what Saikat has said based on how he rolls. But I think just if he comes in the original position of where KL Rahul used to play, like 5 or 6, after Rishabh Pant or before him, then for this, at least on the one innings, he could test that out. And if India finds success in that format, they can continue with that. That is the
Yeah.
only change I want. Other than that, batting and bowling, we are good with that.
I think we will all agree in that on that 11. I think that's they are going to be straightforward changes. One change I see for Australia is that I think in place of McSweeney or Labuschagne, they would bring Sam Constas. He scored 100 in the practice match, and obviously we have the Scott Boland change. He's replacing Hazelwood. Great. So let's talk about key players. So let's start with Rickjoy. Rickjoy, two key players from Australia and India.
From Australia, I think Michelle Stark will be one of the standout players because he might be lethal with that pink bowler. And from batting, I believe Travis Head because he's the person who can at least accelerate the inning. And from India, I am banking on Jasprit Bumrah as usual. He's the game changer. And from batting, I would say uh, let's say Gill. I hope he gets his form back.
Okay. Saikat, you?
Little odd choice, I would say Nathan Lyon. I'm hoping he does some magic this time, just to give him an opportunity, let's say. From batting, Travis Head for me as well. And from India, I think Harshit Rana will have a good test match. And I'm expecting Jaiswal as well again.
So my picks for India would be, I think I would go with Shubman Gill. I think he's going to be the key in this innings. Jaiswal, I hope he does well as well. But I think a lot will depend on how Gill would perform. And see, Jasprit Bumrah is an obvious choice. So I would slightly go with a different option. I think I would also like to see how Harshit Rana performs with the pink ball in this particular Test match. And from an Australian perspective, I think uh, Steve Smith. I don't see him performing well, but if Steve Smith performs well, then Australia would be in a great position. Uh, so I hope Steve Smith performs for Australia and we see a much more competitive test match. And Patty Cummins would be definitely their go-to bowler because he had taken that 7 wickets in the Adelaide Test match last time as well. So I think Patty Cummins would be definitely their go-to bowler. Great prediction time. I don't see we have got hats, but just a virtual hat if you can put on and if you could see. So let's start with Saikat. So what's going to be your prediction? First of all, how many days this test match would last, and who would you think
Three
would be winning this test
three
match?
days. I'm still counting. We'll sit again on Sunday night. So 3 days for me. And Michael Vaughan's prediction is 3-1 against India for this BGT. I'm not going with him, but I see much more competitive, and I see Australia winning this test match and making it more competitive series.
I also kind of reiterate Shikar's sentiment in terms of number of days. I think the match will be over in 3 days, but I think India will pull this off. I think this will be really a historic match. India will pull this off. It is very tough, but I think they can.
Yeah, I agree with both of your points. I think it will go, but slightly a different one. It might go to first session of day 4. That's how it is going to end. And knowing the history of India Australia BGT series, I think Australia will level the series because that's how the series will be alive. And but I see India winning the series 3-2 this time.
But I
Hmm.
somehow believe that this will kind of backfire on them. India might be able to pull through because they're high on confidence.
As an India supporter, I would go ahead with Rick Joy's prediction of 2-0. But as a sports lover, as a cricket lover, I would like to see Australia bounce back and we have a great series, but India eventually winning it 3-2. Great. So that was our podcast for Border Gavaskar Trophy. We reviewed the first test at Perth and we talked about the pink cherry, that is the pink ball test at Adelaide. We hope to see uh, both the teams in action on 6th of December and do wonders for their nation and then provide a exciting experience to all the test cricket lovers and keep the spirit of test cricket alive. That's what we all live for, right? So thank you guys. Thank you, Rickjoy. Thank you, Saikat, for your time. Thank you for reviewing the Perth test and thank you for sharing your inputs on the Adelaide ping ball test and what should be the 11 for both the teams. Hope to see you on the match day and hope to continue our discussion on the match day.
We
Great,
hope that after this
great
test match,
discussion.
we'll again connect and then share our thoughts.
Hope it's Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks for staying with us. Do leave a like and subscribe to our channel. We have tons of content coming up.